Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Thursday Night Live on the Toon Review. Tonight here again with Holly Blades. Holly, good evening.
Evening, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm all right, yeah.
Good. Now, obviously, I saw you on Ladies' Night on Tuesday night, just before we started with the Four Horsemen, and congratulations for your performance on there, by the way. Just to get your sort of reaction to the Chelsea game. I think everybody was quite disappointed, but what was your initial reaction after that finished?
The first half was a massive letdown. I was so disappointed in the first half. Like, it completely looked like we just went back to how we were playing a few weeks ago, and was just not good enough at all. And I think the absence of Callum Wilson definitely showed through and showed that we do have a massive weakness up top. And then the second half looked a little bit better, but it still wasn't good enough. And I hope we can certainly play better like that. Not as much at the weekend, because I think we can all write that game off, but certainly in the next upcoming games, because if we don't pick up form, then we'll be in a worrying position.
And Man United just won 4-0 tonight, haven't they, against Sociedad in the Cup, so in Europe, so they'll be in good spirits. Just hopefully they're a little bit tired. What did you think about starting where Dwight Gayle started on the right-hand side? Do you think he was... I know he was anonymous during the game. Is that because of where he was playing, do you think, or do you just think he's not good enough?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Like, it was weird. I think no one was expecting him to play in the position that he did. But then at the same time, we've always known that the Premier League's like a little bit above his level. Like, no disrespect to him, because I do think he's a decent striker and he can certainly do a job in the Championship for a side that's wanting promotion. But for us, as a starter, he's just not good enough, and that definitely showed. And it was a lot worse than I expected him to be. I was massively disappointed in him. And for Man United, I don't think I would put him back in the starting lineup, to be honest.
Right. Well, I was furious with a whole lot of them, to be honest. I think the effort was just wasn't there from the start. I know you said last week you were hopeful of getting something from Stamford Bridge, even if it was just a point, but it didn't happen, and we end up performing like that again. Do you think it was sort of looking like it was going back to the old Bruce Ball days, or do you think it was just the fact that there was, I don't know, what was missing?
It certainly did look like we were going back in time to how it was a few weeks ago before we got a few results. Like, it was just so concerning to see, because you thought, oh, we'd finally started to pick up and do better, and then we just completely went back over on ourselves. So it was just, you couldn't believe it. But then it's hard to say what was missing, because it does just seem that we're missing that spark that we had a few weeks ago. But then obviously I think that massively could have been Callum Wilson, the fact that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And it's worrying that we actually depend on one player that much.
I just want to get your thoughts on the substitutions, because obviously Steve Bruce has said on numerous occasions he's complained that he's never had the chance to bring in Fraser and Saint-Maximin in the same team. Yet he's had the opportunity 6 or 7 times now, and he's still decided to take ASM off and bring Fraser on. Do you think maybe we should have started with Fraser and ASM?
Yeah, like I said, I think that Saint-Maximin wouldn't be a bad shout to play more centrally, more of a striker than on the left-hand side, especially now obviously that we're missing Wilson, and I don't think he could do any better than obviously having Dwight Gayle on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see them both in the same team, because I think that would cause any Premier League team's defence a worry and causing problems. So I would like to see them both starting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Dwight Gayle isn't strong enough. I mean, if you look at the difference between him and Callum Fraser, Fraser holds the ball up. He's strong on the ball. He doesn't get knocked off the ball. Yet Dwight Gayle seems to get a breath of fresh air on him, and he falls over. He's always looking for free kicks and things like that, when he should really be concentrating on his own game and actually holding the ball up for our guys to run onto, because nobody held the ball up on Monday night. Nobody created many chances. I think Willock had a header. Shelvey had a free kick. What's your thoughts on Shelvey, Holly? Because I know when we spoke last Thursday, we weren't sure whether to put him in our teams or not. And, we'd said that the game kind of passes him by and things like that. What did you think? Because I thought it just passed him by again. I just wasn't impressed.
Well, he got a lot of criticism after that game, but not that he particularly had a good game, but I think that he was one of the better players on that pitch.
Right.
But that's not hard to do because a lot of them were very, very poor.
Yeah.
But I certainly thought, the free kick that he took and stuff like that, I thought was pretty decent. So he's certainly one of the players that I would criticise the least out of everyone in that team. But that's just personal opinion, and I know other people see it differently.
Fine. Everybody sees the matches differently, especially with player performances. I mean, I did my player ratings and I didn't score anybody over a 6. Normally, when we lose a game, you can look to a couple of players and say, well, they stood out a little bit. They had better effort. But on Monday night, nobody seemed to have. There wasn't one player for me that gave the team a spark.
Yeah, I agree. Probably for me, I think Shelby and Darlow and Clark were probably the best 3, but none of them were particularly great.
And what do you think about Lascelles? Because we had a conversation about Lascelles on the Monday night show that we do, and obviously on my fan reaction on after the game on Monday about Lascelles, and seeing him after the second goal just with his head down, walking back to the touch, the halfway line, ready to kick off again. There was no clapping his hands or shouting at anybody. We just lacked some sort of leadership on the pitch.
Definitely, that's been a problem under the whole Bruce kind of reign, if you would say that, because like I said, Lascelles, I don't rate him as a captain whatsoever. I don't think he's got any leadership qualities. I think he's definitely, his performances have got worse and worse over the past 2-3 seasons. He hasn't been very good since Rafa Benitez left the club. And even as a defender, I don't rate him. I certainly wouldn't put him in the starting lineup, and I wouldn't say he's one of our best centre-backs. I think we've got better options, so I don't understand why we keep playing him. I know he is the captain, but he doesn't deserve to be for me.
Agreed, totally agree. What did you think of the tackle on Abrahams? Do you think that was a penalty, or do you think he got the ball first? Because I looked at it very slowly and thought he did get a bit of Abraham before he actually got the ball, and I've seen them given either way. I thought initially it wasn't a penalty, and then when I've looked at it again, I thought, God, that could have actually been given, but it should never have happened because the ball over the top, just our defense just disappeared, completely disappeared, and a ball over the top like that for Abrahams to run should never happen at all.
I think it was a penalty. I think we're very, very lucky to get away with it. I don't know how we did, especially under obviously this new thing with VAR and stuff. Normally the slightest thing that you do wrong, the decision will obviously go against you. And I can't believe that we did actually get away with that one, because I think it should have been a penalty and we were just so lucky, but wouldn't really made a difference regardless, because we still would have lost the game, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I think when it went to VAR, I had a hunch it was going to be a penalty, simply because it's Newcastle United and those kind of things never go our way, but finally one did. We'll have a look at some of the comments. Taylor says hi. David says hi, Paul and Holly. David says, Paul, I've sent you a message on Twitter. I'll have a look at that when we finish, mate. I've had so many messages on Twitter since last night, since I appeared on Newcastle Fans TV, and sort of especially with me singing impersonations and stuff like that. It's I wasn't expecting that, to be honest, but never mind. 1892 Mags, hello Paul and Holly. With it being Sir Bobby Robson's birthday today, what is your fondest memory? The fondest memory I've got of Sir Bobby is just his charisma around the club, his smiling face, the way he was with the fans, the way he was with the players, forgetting the players' names, clips of him in the dressing room, shouting at Kieran Dyer, calling him Jermaine Genius, and all sorts of stuff like that. I just think the whole persona of Bobby Robson at the club at the time was just my favourite thing, because years before there'd been opportunities for Bobby to come. He could have left Barcelona when Keegan left, and he didn't. He stays loyal to the clubs he's at, and that's one thing that I really loved about Sir Bobby. And the guy was just an awesome personality, and he's sadly missed, unfortunately, but he'll never be forgotten. He did come in and what he did for Alan Shearer. Shearer was going to leave the club. He's made that perfectly sound to everybody, that after what happened with Ruud Gullit, that was it. He was gone because he was just left on the bench, etc. And he turned Shearer around again, came in, said to Shearer, "You're the main man. You go again. You score the goals. We'll provide you with all the goals, and the rest is history." Holly, do you have any anything of Bobby Robson that you've seen, or just that, what kind of man he was?
Well, it's harder for me to answer because he did manage one before I was actually born.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's why I was sort of saying, is there any sort of videos or anything that you've seen that maybe, what he was like, what kind of man he was?
I have been to like an Alan Shearer talking where he spoke about obviously what Bobby did for his career, and
Right.
that was a standout thing for me, obviously, because if it wasn't for him, we probably wouldn't have had those 10 years with Alan Shearer. Like, he would have been on his way out. So
Yep.
I think we do owe that to Bobby Robson. So that's probably one of the things that is important to me. And then also obviously the connections he had with the city, the club, and the fans, and he was just a great guy.
Yeah, he was, and I don't think anybody will forget. The thing about Sir Bobby was he was never spoken about badly by anybody in the world of football. The whole of Europe, who especially the clubs he'd been at, and even the rival clubs, have all got wonderful things to say about Sir Bobby, and because he was just that kind of guy. I think Lee said it last night when I was on with them. He was like or it might have been Carl saying he was like the granddad coming into the club and just putting his arm around the club again, saying, "Don't worry, everything's going to be all right." Kind of what we need now again. But after Keegan had gone, and then we had Dalglish, Souness, all those type of managers who just destroyed what Keegan had built, and then Bobby came in and lifted us all again. Just like when you're down, you go to your granddad, and suddenly he picks you up again, just like that. He was just an amazing man. Steve Bruce says, "Well, I'm sick to death of Joe Linton being up Waldridge Fell." Oh God, not again. PD Proudlock, even Paul and Holly, the blobfish and Fabricius Monkey has still got me in stitches. Those of you that did see the show on Monday, I don't know whether you saw it, Holly, but there was a lot of impersonations of Steve Bruce going on, and people were asking us to have a look online and see what he looked like, and this is one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And there was a monkey at the end. Barry got it up on his screen. It was with a huge nose, a proboscis monkey, and there was some absolutely hilarious comments coming in. But Peter's obviously still got that on his mind. Kieran says, "Good evening, hi mate, how are you?" Thomas says, "Good evening." Geordie, evening, Paul and Holly. Do you think we have what it takes to stay up in the Premier League? Holly, this has been close because obviously I think the result between Fulham and Burnley last night was probably the best one we could ask for, in fairness, without either side winning. But it looked at one stage, Fulham scored just after half time and our hearts started racing. Then Burnley equalised 4 minutes later and it stays 1-1. What do you think about the relegation battle? Do you think it's going to go down to the wire? Because I certainly hope it doesn't, because it's Fulham away on the last game of the season. That could be horrible.
I think there's a big chance that it could. Like, I think I'll admit that I was too overconfident in thinking that, there's a 10-point gap, we don't need to worry, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I still think we'll stay up. Hopefully, it'll probably be by something tiny, like a point or something, and I think we'll be 17th. I don't think we'll go on a run and climb the table or anything like that, but I'm hopeful that we'll stay up, but I wouldn't say I'm like 100% confident that we will. I think there is a chance that we could go down, and we need to be very, very careful and watch our backs, because it only takes a couple of results and we're down there.
Yeah, it does. You do realise what you're saying. If we survive by a point, that means it does go down to the last game.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it'll be very, very close.
Oh my God. I hope you're wrong on this one. I really do. Stephen says, "Hi, Paul and Holly." Thomas says, "Great laugh on Tuesday." Yeah, it was a brilliant show. Ollie says, "Paul, seen you on Newcastle Fans TV last night. Inspirational story. And spent the day watching your Four Horsemen videos. Hilarious and great watch for all things Newcastle. New fan of the channel." Thanks very much, Ollie. Yeah, I mean, I didn't particularly go on there last night to really go through everything so personal. I guess it just I thought it might have been a good opportunity just for those that didn't subscribe to my channel, just to find out a bit more about me, myself, my family, and the build-up of the Toon Review channel. I mean, Holly, I explained to you before we came on air, I've had a massive row with Google all day because I'm trying to set an AdSense account up, and Google say I've already got one, so I can't actually log into it. And They've then said I may have to delete my channel and start all over again, which there will be a 6-foot man bursting into tears if that happens. I can guarantee that. I really don't want to have to go down that route. But if I want to try and make any money for the channel, I need an AdSense account, which is a real pain in the arse. But it was lovely getting the reaction that I did. You know, my fiance was, she watched it after the show. She watched it next to me, and she got quite emotional. It was some of the stuff that obviously she already knew. So it was nice for me. The singing bit I didn't expect, Ollie, if I'm honest. So that became a bit of a surprise for me. But I'm pleased it came up in a way, because it, you know, it just shows another side to me, I guess, just trying to cheer some people up during lockdown. I know you watched it, Holly, so what did you think of the bit of singing?
I thought it was really good. I wasn't expecting it, but yeah, it was good. And
I kind of knew what Lee was doing when I came out with it. I knew he'd go straight online and find it, but I didn't expect him to play it. But never mind, it was all in good fun. That's what it's all about, I guess. Martin says, evening, Paul and Holly. Paul says, all right, Paul and Holly. McAllister Bishop, F. Steve Bruce. Yeah, I think we've all said that over the last few weeks. Paul Jackson says, evening, Paul and Holly. Thomas says, great stuff, Paul, on Newcastle Fans TV. Thank you very much. Geordie says, we rely on Callum Wilson too much. Without him, we would be in a worse position than we currently are, which is frightening. I mean, it is something that, you know, I mean, obviously he's been fit a lot, but if I guess if we're hypothetically speaking, if we didn't have Callum Wilson, Holly, we'd be in a desperate state this season. I mean, we'd probably be, you know, alongside Sheffield United.
Probably. He's been massive for us this season. I think it was a bargain for the 20 million that we did pay for him. Yeah. I think we're so lucky to get him for that. And like I said, if it wasn't for him, we would have been in the bottom 3 for most of the season. Mm-hmm. He's definitely saved us, and it couldn't have happened at the worst time that he got that injury. I wish it just even a few more weeks so we could have got a few more points, hopefully, because apart from him, we haven't really got anybody that can score the goals, and it's just so sad that we rely so heavily on one player, like I said.
I mean, I didn't think he was injured that bad when it actually happened. You know, it wasn't sort of, you know, when you see certain players that have really badly torn muscles, the screaming in pain on the pitch or the stretch it off. I just thought he'd strained a muscle, and you know, he walked off fine, and I guess that's what Steve Bruce meant by the fact that he didn't really expect it to be that bad. Turns out, obviously, it was when the scans and everything took place, but given the position we're in this season and what's going on around us in the league, you know, to lose Callum Wilson now it's frightening. It is. Paul says mindset lacking and effort lacking against Chelsea, undoubtedly. That's what got me the most, is the fact that, you know, there were some people coming onto social media saying, "Oh, Newcastle fans in uproar again, panic's setting in for no reason." But it wasn't the fact we lost to Chelsea. I mean, you know, we go to Stamford Bridge every season and we hardly ever come away with anything. It was the manner of the defeat, Holly.
Yeah, that's, if we do go down, I think that's what would send us down. Not necessarily that we don't have the talent in the squad and the ability, because I think we do. We've got some good players, but it's just the fact that I think mentally they just don't care enough. And it's like they don't realise that we are in a relegation battle. Yeah. They're like playing like they think, oh, we're about mid-table or something and we've got no worries. It's like they're completely blind to what's happening. Like that similar phrase was sleepwalking into relegation, and they need to wake up and actually realise how much of a dangerous position we're in.
Yeah, it's like the picking up on what Steve Bruce is saying in his press conference, isn't it? You know, he truly believes that we're not in a relegation battle, and he believes that there's 7 or 8 teams in it. I mean, I don't know where he gets that from. The 7 or 8 teams, I don't know what he's looking at there. But it's time that they all woke up and realised how much danger we are in, because it's catching up on us very quickly. Jason says, evening guys, hope you're all well. Lee Taylor says, Shelvey is no Rob Lee sort of midfielder, but he is decent for a club in the position that we find ourselves in under Ashley. Yeah, I mean, he is a decent player. You know, he has been a decent player over the years. That there's no doubt about. I just think sometimes with John Joe Shelvey, he's lazy sometimes, and that costs us because of the position he plays. When he switches off, Ollie, it means that, you know, their midfield starts to control the game because we're like a man down because he switches off.
it's the inconsistency as well that's a problem, because
Mhm.
he can have he could play 5 games and 1 or 2 of those games he'll look absolutely amazing, like no one can stop him, and then the other 3 or 4 he just looks so poor, like he can't be bothered. So if he constantly kept up with the same amount of effort, then he could be a decent player. It's just a shame that he doesn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, if we had another sort of Isaac Hayden kind of attitude around John Joe Shelby, he'd be a completely different kettle of fish, I think. Ollie says, never rated Lascelles outside the Championship. Lack of leadership really evident from him now, and other senior players around him. Spot on, Holly. Got away with the penalty for sure. Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's one of those with the penalty where it could or it couldn't have been given. I've seen them given a lot of times this season, especially with VAR coming into it. And I was really convinced, having seen it the second time, that if it went to VAR, which it did, I thought the worst. But we were lucky, I guess. Tom says West Brom versus Newcastle, Newcastle Villa, Brighton, Newcastle. How many points? Go on then, Holly. How many points do you think we'll get out of those?
I'll say 4.
4. And where do you think where they're coming from?
I think a win against West Brom and a draw against Brighton.
Right. I mean, I heard Adrian Durham on Talk Sport before talking about the relegation battle, and sometimes he really does my head in. 1 minute he's sticking up for us, next minute he's sticking the knife in. He was talking about Fulham getting something like 20 odd points now between now and the end of the season, and we only getting 4 points from the remaining 14, 15 games. I think that's laughable, to be honest. I think we will get more than that. Down at West Brom, we was just calling it the hashtag dinosaur derby between Allardyce and Bruce. 2 fantastic football playing managers, if you like. And I mean that sarcastically in the biggest way possible. It could be one of those games where it's just a bore fest from the start. Villa, they've hit the rocks a little bit of late, so maybe we'll catch them on an off day. Brighton is never an easy game for us when we go down there. It's normally a draw. I think we've drew with them so many times at the Amex. But the fact there's no fans in might swing it our way again. You just don't know. I mean, those games there, though, Holly, are games that we have to get something from, really, don't we? If we're realistic to say, the other teams in the league that we've still got to play, the likes of Arsenal, Man City, etc., these are the games that you have to look at as a fan or as a player or a manager and think, they are the ones that we've got to get something from.
Typically, yes, but being a Newcastle fan, I've never looked at it that way, because we're such a weird side that we could literally go and get points off teams in the top 6, and then we'll get battered off the bottom half teams. It's just crazy. We're the only club I know that's like that.
That's happened for years, to be honest, where we've especially the season that we were 12 points clear. That was we went on this run where we just played teams that we were expected to beat, and we didn't. We either drew or lost those games, and then it's just snowballed ever since then, really. Where we expect to win games and we struggle, yet we go against the top 6 and suddenly put a performance on, either get 3 points or a draw. It's absolutely bizarre. John says it wasn't a penalty because Tammy Abraham was to blame. I'm not sure how Tammy Abraham was to blame for that, considering all he was doing was running on goal. I think he probably thought he was clean in and didn't expect Lascelles to catch him. I mean, that's one thing about Lascelles. He does have a bit of pace. And I think he was able to catch Abraham. I think had it been another striker, possibly a bit quick thinking, maybe he would have got in and just scored straight away anyway. But, it wasn't given. And at the end of the day, that suits us the best. Stephen says, I don't think it was a penalty, to be honest. You could see Lascelles got the ball. I think it would have been a very harsh to give, but that's just my opinion. Exactly. And that's what it's all about, Holly. So many people have different opinions. And looking at that, you can see why VAR was struggling to give a penalty, because, if we as a fan base don't know if it's a penalty, then he's certainly not going to know in VAR, is he?
No, that's the thing. It's one of them ones that it's hard to tell. It's kind of like a 50-50 where you're not really sure. So it's a hard decision to make.
Jason says what we need is a spotlight shined onto Shelby's head when he gets the ball. Then he can pick out his Hollywood passes whilst the opponents are temporarily blinded. That's the one thing that's frustrating me about John Joe, though, is he does try and overdo these long passes, and sometimes I think, if the players were a bit more switched on further ahead, then maybe they could get onto the end of these passes. For me, it's a bit of ability-wise for some of the players. Like, for example, Saint-Maximin, he's sort of 4 or 5 seconds ahead of everybody else. So, when he's trying things, the other players aren't up with him. But, on ASM, do you think he just hangs onto the ball a little too long, Holly?
Yeah, and it's not only that. I think he does too many fancy tricks and passes and stuff like that. That's just not necessary, and then he'll end up getting trapped or losing the ball, and he can't just make a simple pass because he's put himself in a position where he's just held onto the ball for too long. So sometimes it's good and it's exciting to watch, but sometimes he just needs to learn to just do a simple pass and make his life easier.
That's the exact thing that I'm thinking about him, is just the fact that it is, though, that there was when Cristiano Ronaldo first came over here to play for Manchester United, he was very much the same in that he was doing loads of step overs and all this kind of stuff. But Fergie nurtured that out of him, and he became the player he was, to be honest. But Ronaldo had, Fergie as a manager. We've got Steve Bruce, so that probably isn't going to happen with ASM, to be honest. But which is a shame. But I just think sometimes when he goes on his mazy runs, it'll pull off. But he can't do that every time he gets the ball. There was times he was getting the ball against Chelsea, and there was 5 Chelsea players in front of him, a couple of Newcastle players around him, and he'd try and take the Chelsea players on, and it's not going to work. And that's what he needs to be more aware of. Jason says the Twitter blew up with the love for King Kevin on his birthday, and same again for Sir Bobby today. Bruce only wishes for 1% of that love, but will never ever get it. He won't, because of, I think, the way he speaks about the fans. And I've said loads of times, I think we said it last Thursday, Holly, that some of the stuff he comes out with against the fans, he says it because he knows he doesn't have to face them because of COVID.
Yeah, he can certainly get away with a lot more now than he would be able to perhaps last season when there was fans in the ground, because there'll be no backlash from it. So he kind of uses that to his advantage, but it doesn't mean it's right. He always goes on about being a Newcastle fan and being a Geordie and stuff like that, and it's just a load of rubbish, because he literally says things that would be the opposite of what I would say, or any other actual Newcastle fan. It's totally bizarre.
It is. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, do hit the like button, and please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and also follow Holly on Twitter at HollyBlades05, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought so. I keep getting them mixed up. HollyBlades05 on Twitter, so do go and give her a follow as well. We'll come on to the Manchester United game shortly as well, because that is going to be a toughie. Tom says, Bruce said last July the 13th place wouldn't be acceptable. Fast forward to February, and Newcastle United sits 17th with as more excuses than league victories. Yeah, he did say that, but we know that the Newcastle, the manager, the board, they've said all this stuff about, Charlie came out and said we're going to communicate better with the fans. Bruce said 13th wouldn't be acceptable. And then when we're in the position we are, that it just seems to be acceptable for everybody. And but it's not good enough for the fans, Holly.
It's not good enough for the fans, but I refuse to believe that Bruce did actually think that when he said it, because realistically, for the past 14 years, I think it is, that Mike Ashley's had the club, 17th has literally been good enough. So saying 13th isn't good enough is kind of a lie, really.
I just can't believe the risk he's taking, Mike Ashley, at the minute. I really can't. I mean, it came out yesterday that he was going to, or the day before, that he was going to back, Steve Bruce was being backed, and Ashley was going to give him time to get everything right with Graham Jones and see how the partnership works. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. John says, Bobby's autobiography, an absolute brilliant read. Yeah, I've read it myself. I don't know if you have, Holly, but I would highly recommend you do, because you'll learn much more about the guy and what he was really like. It's just fantastic. The countries he went to, the teams and players he used to manage, and how he dealt with certain players and things like that. Just an awesome read. So if you do get a chance, Holly, I would recommend having a look at that one. Thomas says, I wish Sir Bobby would come back. Yeah, I mean, he's sadly missed, isn't he? Taylor says, search Judge with a Dick Nose and you have Steve Bruce. Okay, I'll have a look after the show, Taylor. I'm sure that it'll bring us some fun. I don't have Barry on tonight to get on his internet and have a quick look. Paul says, so what the hell happened with the Sturridge rumour? For me, it was a non-starter because, I think he's got a ban and he's not allowed to play over here for 6 months, I believe. But also that our squad is full. We have a 25-man squad now, so he wouldn't be able to fit in the squad unless the Premier League gave us special dispensation to bring him in and obviously take one man out of the squad, which would probably be Christian Atsu. I don't really want Daniel Sturridge. I don't know about you, Holly, but we've got enough injuries as it is. We don't need another crock. And we're not, I heard, I think it was Kendall came out with it on the ladies' night the other night, that we're not a care home for all these old players coming back.
Yeah, that's... I agree with what she said, because we always get these players that are like past their best that no one wants to try and like revive their career. But in reality, it just ends up taking up our wage bill and taking up places in the squad, and we don't need them. They're just a hindrance. I
mean, we went through this with Kenny Dalglish when he started bringing the likes of John Barnes and Stuart Pearce and Ian Rush. It was sort of an old people's home in the end, St James's Park, and we don't want that to happen again. And Daniel Sturridge is another one who there's a reason why he's a free agent at the minute. Nobody wants to take him because they don't want to take that risk. And he's a bit of a liability on the injury front. Stephen says, hi from Steve, loving watching this channel. Thanks, Stephen. Tom says, if I was Bruce, I would give Dubravka a run out on Sunday and give Darlow a rest. I wouldn't give Darlow a rest. I'd give Dubravka the rest of the season, but we'll come on to that shortly. NUFCHD, hi mate, love the channel. I was just wondering, where did you get your intro from? Somebody made it on fiverr.com for me. I basically went on, sent them all the information, i.e. the pictures of the players, the badges, the strips, and the same person updates the end bit for me every season when obviously we change strips. So I have to get that updated every year. But fiverr.com, I go on there for quite a lot of my things, and they're a fantastic website, and the people on there are geniuses. But I have learned to do a few things myself over the last few months as well, so it does help when you know a bit more once you start getting into it. But it was fiverr.com. Ollie says, spat my coffee out with laughter this morning with the proboscis monkey. If I was Bruce, assuming we stay up, you do the decent thing and walk away, and can say you've managed your boyhood club. Now, Holly, with Steve Bruce, I think it's perfectly well known now that he's not going to walk. He isn't going to go himself. But my worry is that if we stay up, okay, they'll turn around and say, well, Steve Bruce has done a good job keeping us in the division, and they'll keep him on. If we go down, they'll turn around and say, well, he's done the job in the Championship before, so we'll keep him on there. So either way, he keeps his job, which is my worry.
I think no matter what, he will stay out the rest of his contract. Obviously, he's got another season after this one on the contract. And I think even if we're on the Championship or the Premier League, regardless, I think he will stay for that extra year because, to be honest, we're going to struggle to get anyone else in. Yeah. And I don't think Mike Ashley can be bothered. Like, he's just done with the club now. He can tell he just wants to move on.
I mean, we desperately need the takeover. That's the only thing that's going to get rid of Bruce in my eyes at the minute, is somebody coming in, taking over the club and saying, right, there you go. Thanks for your work, Steve, but we're heading in a different direction. We can only hope and pray that happens sooner rather than later, I guess. Jamie Slack says, you need to get rid before you find yourself in the Championship, as Fulham are playing better football than you lot. Without a shadow of a doubt, Fulham are playing better football. I've said this for a while now. Scott Parker's got them playing well. He's brought some very, very good players in who are gelling quite quickly. I think Josh Maja was a fantastic signing. From Bordeaux. He was good when he played for Sunderland, and he's going to score goals for them. We are playing probably one of the worst footballing teams in the Premier League at the moment, Holly, and Fulham are certainly playing better football than us.
Yeah, it's not that we necessarily have the worst players or that we have the least amount of talent. It's just the fact that the system we play and the coaching under Bruce is so poor that we're just, even last season, I think we had one of the worst football in the league. It's just so boring to watch.
Yeah, it is. That's the thing. It's boring. You know, I was doing a watch along with John the other day against Chelsea, and we were talking about bloody gardening in the second half. I don't know how it got onto that, but it just got onto the conversation about doing your gardens and stuff. Stu says, would you like to see Fernandes and Shah stay beyond this season? For me, yes. I think Fernandes has deserved an extension because of he's been fantastic, probably our best central defender this season. And Shah was coming into form again and looking like the player he was. Now, a lot of people say, well, you know, with them being out of contract, are they playing to catch the eye of other clubs because their form's improved, or are they genuinely playing well because they want to play well? What would you do with those two, Holly?
I'd keep them both. I think they both deserve a new contract, especially Fernandes. Lately, he's just been outstanding.
Yeah, definitely. Good evening, Carl. Hope you're well. Evening, Paul and Holly. Paul Wood says, needing that Lofthouse up front. Yeah, we could just do with someone like that. Tom says, just watch Man United beat Real Sociedad. They played well. Fernandes with the goals. Yeah, we may as well come on to Man United now, Holly. You know, looking ahead to the game on Sunday, I'm not sure what formation he's going to go out with. You know, there is rumours that he's going to go back to a 5 to try and control Man United's front 3. I just think it scares me to death when I think about Emil Kraft facing someone like Rashford or Mason Greenwood. You know, Cavani up front. You've got Rashford. You know, there's so many options for Man United, and all he'll have done his homework, and he'll know where to target Newcastle. You know, certainly the two fullbacks is something that you know, Man United will just be opening their eyes and thinking this is a real opportunity for us to score some goals.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that he could go back to 5 at the back, and normally I would be like annoyed by that because I don't want to see us play that like ever again. But to be honest, I'm not that bothered if we play that this weekend, because I don't think no matter what system we play or who we play or anything else, I think we'll get beat. So I'm honestly past caring at this point.
No, it's shocking you should feel like that, but you're not the only one that feels like that. You know, there's so many Newcastle fans just now, you know, thinking ahead to the games that are coming up and thinking, why do we bother? Why do we bother even watching? Why do we even bother trying to cheer them on? You know, it's just everything's so low at the minute in the fan base. And, you know, I would love to see us come away from Old Trafford with a point. I think a point would be fantastic. I just think we've got to go to these bigger teams and pick up points somewhere, or else we're in deep trouble. But like you know, if I let my head rule my heart, I'm saying that Man United will walk away with a victory by 2 or 3 goals, at least. You know, but Fernandes is someone that definitely has to be picked up.
Yeah, it's going to be a massively hard game for the squad.
Yeah.
But I just think, honestly, I think we need to just kind of write this one. Well, for me anyway, I'm just writing this one off, and I think we've got more winnable and more important games coming up, and we need to just focus on taking the points from them, because it's unlikely we'll get anything from Man United, but there's a chance we'll get them from the other teams, and we'll just need as many points as we can possibly get. Yeah.
Carl says, pretty sure Maxi just envisages himself being part of a FIFA street match. Yeah, he does look like that. I mean, you know, things that he was doing earlier in the season, though, you know, taking players on and getting to the edge of the box and getting shots away, they aren't happening for him at the minute. I think he's getting very frustrated because of that. Jody says Lascelles should not have been made captain when Rafa was at the club because he was 23 years old, had no Premier League experience. In my opinion, a club's captain has to be a player with experience. I agree with that. I think he was made captain very, very early. You know, for me, I've said it all along that Isaac Hayden should be our captain simply because of the way he leads himself on and off the pitch. He didn't play very well at Chelsea, I know, but nobody else did. But the way he conducts himself on and off the pitch, he's my captain, to be honest. Stephen says, I support Newcastle since 1970, and this has got to be the worst team and manager. Hope things improve soon. Yeah, a lot of people have said that. A lot of the fans that have been going for years and years and years have said that this is one of the worst teams they've ever seen. I mean, I've seen some really bad teams in my time as well, certainly in the 80s and things like that, when we were, you know, relegated, promoted, relegated. I don't want Steve Bruce turning us into a yo-yo side, Holly, because that's even worse when you go down, up all the time. Newcastle United shouldn't be a club like that, should they?
Not at all. We're way too big for the Championship. Like, I don't care what anybody says. We shouldn't be anywhere near that league. We should certainly be in the top half of the Premier League. For me, we shouldn't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, definitely. It's just annoying sometimes. Jason says, well, I'm a local lad. I support the club. I've seen enough to progress. I want to play SM and Fraser together. We had them on the ropes until this scores. Lies, 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 lies. It is, and you just know what that man is going to come out with, don't you? After every press conference, every game, you'll stand in front of the cameras and you'll say the same stuff. I listened to BBC after the Chelsea game, and he actually turned around and said, we were excellent in the second half at Chelsea. I mean, how can he say that, Holly? What is he watching here that we're not?
It's laughable, really. Like, I don't know what goes through that guy's head. I've said time and time again, I don't even think he's a football manager. I think it's some type of disguise. Like, this guy just seems to have no basic knowledge whatsoever. It's mental. Like, since we got beat, I think it was 5-0 at Leicester away last season, which I think was around the beginning of the season. I never listened to his press conferences and stuff like that again until obviously I had to listen to something go on like John's channel and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just the same thing on repeat. It's like he may as well not even turn up. He may as well just play a loop because you know what he's going to say just constantly. Like, because he's run out of ideas and excuses. He needs to just admit that it's too much for him.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting watching you and John tomorrow do the press conference because I'm just waiting for him to slip up, saying, no, I'm looking forward to going home. And just saying something stupid like that about Manchester United. It'll be very interesting to see what he does say because, I'm just waiting for him to slip up because there'll be absolute uproar. Thomas says, can't wait to get rid of Xavi and Atsu. Yeah, I feel sorry for Xavi, to be honest. I mean, there was a time he came back for a few games and I thought he played really well and then he was sent to the wilderness again. Just one of them things. Thomas says, why are you wearing a Luton Town shirt? Well, I'll tell you why, Thomas. It's because I collect football shirts. Not so much Premier League shirts, but lower league teams, I do like to collect football shirts, especially the away ones. The away ones have nice designs to them. So I'm a football shirt collector. You should know that already, Thomas, being a regular member of the channel. So slap yourself over the wrist for that. You know I'm a football shirt collector. So there you go. Ken says, good evening, Paul and Holly. I'm enjoying the show again. And Paul was just wondering how you got on with Shies Butchers in Blythe yesterday. I didn't manage to give them a ring, but I will be contacting them, Ken. So thanks very much for giving me the details. It was I got quite a surprise when he sent us a message straight away after, well, literally the next morning after the show to say that there was a possibility of doing something. So I will be contacting them though. So thanks very much for that. Taylor says, so who's on the back of that Luton Town shirt? No one. I don't put names on the back of my shirts. I've got one Newcastle shirt, which my fiance bought me, which has got me year of birth and my nickname on the top, and that's the only one. I never, ever, other than that, get any football shirts with names on. I certainly won't be getting Joe Linton's anyway. That's a little dig at David because we all know he loves them. Geordie, that's what I was thinking, Thomas. Well, now you know, Geordie. There's nothing wrong with being a football shirt collector. I don't know what you think, Holly, but I know Kendall has about 35,000 football shirts, and she's a big collector of them. I know a few of my mates collect them all over the place, and it's just if you're a football fan, I guess. I will never ever buy a Rivals football shirt. Let's get that straight. But I do like supporting the lower leagues, getting some shirts and that, and just collecting loads of different ones.
Fair enough. Personally, for me, I just wear Newcastle in England, but if you like collecting them, then why not? Exactly.
Doesn't stop me knowing who my number one team is, though. Just make that clear. No. Taylor said, if you could sign 3 players, reasonable skill level, who would you buy? Holly, I'll let you answer that one because I'll need time to think.
Honestly, I have no idea, especially at the minute, just because I can't see anybody wanting to come. Like, even if they were in a lower league, I just think it's such an unattractive club to come to just because of all the constant off-the-pitch drama and stuff like that. I can't see anyone wanting to sign. It's a really hard question.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, possibly maybe getting Willock on another year's extension. I believe, when he first signed, it was going to be for 18 months anyway. So I think there might be an option for another year with him. I think he'd do well if he got a second season with a view to possibly signing permanently. as for someone else, I think we need cover at fullback. I need both fullbacks really. I think Lewis can come on. I think he's still got a long way to go, but there is a player in Jamal Lewis definitely. Emil Kraft is just not a player full stop. So I definitely think right back is a necessity. Midfield, I mean, midfield we're not badly off for players. I mean, Hendrick, let's not talk about Jeff Hendrick, but and Shelby, but we've got youngsters coming through as well. If anybody watches the under-23s, we've got some very talented youngsters coming through, but it's all about whether Steve Bruce wants to give them an opportunity to play. We definitely need another striker up front alongside Callum Wilson, whether he plays two up front or it's somebody to come in for Callum Wilson. But there lies a problem. You're going up to a player and you're saying, well, you'll not get number one, you'll not get first team football straight away. You have to wait for an injury. That's going to put strikers off, Holly, isn't it?
Definitely. Like, no one wants to come to a club, especially when they're young, to know that they're going to always be second best and they'll have to constantly fight to get into the squad because it just makes their life harder. But in terms of, I couldn't give three specific names for who I'd sign, but in terms of positions, I'd probably say we need, obviously, a backup striker, a left back, and then I'd probably go for another central defender because we've just got so many injuries there and I don't rate some of them.
Yeah, well, Geordie's asking there, since both of you would keep Fernandez and Shah, which defenders would you sell, and is Lejeune worthy of a second chance? For me, I really like Lejeune. I think there's a really good player in there. I don't believe he should have gone on loan. I know he had a bad injury and he hasn't really had an opportunity, but I really like Lejeune as a central defender. If we're keeping Fernandez and Shah, I'd sell Lascelles. I would keep Clark because I think Clark is a better defender than Lascelles as well. So maybe I'd only just get rid of Lascelles. Holly, I don't know about you.
At the moment, yeah, it would just be Lascelles because we can't really afford to bring in anyone better at the moment.
Yeah. Jody says Westwood the Pirate or Ashley. Well, Westwood the Pirate, definitely. Tom says, would you give the long staff to run out on Sunday? This has been a question that's been going on for weeks about the long staffs and what's going on with them, Holly. I mean, I still don't see him giving any one of them an opportunity on Sunday.
I don't, but I would give Matty a chance to start. Not Sean, but Matty, I think, would do well against Man United.
Who would you bring in? Who would you leave out for Matty?
If we're playing a 3 in midfield, I'd probably go with him, Willock, and then Hayden. And if it was a 2, I'd do him and Hayden probably.
Right. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, for me, I've said all along the 4-2-3-1. I'd much rather see us play that than 4-3-3. I think the worry I have about playing 4-3-3 against Man United is the same thing will happen to us. What happened to Chelsea? They'll just overrun us. So I think if we went 4-2-3-1, that creates a better opportunity. Yes, there's the option of 5 at the back, but given our recent record of playing 5 at the back, it's just. I mean, we rely on Steve Bruce to come up with a good tactics, a good formation, good tactics, and I just don't think he's capable of doing that, quite honestly. But I guess time will tell. Geordie says Matty Longstaff has to start because he loves a goal against Man United. He does. I think he scored down there and scored up here as well. So yeah, I think it's a good shout, Holly, to be honest, to put him in. I think personally, if he goes 3 in midfield, I would dump Shelby out and put Matty and Isaac as the 2 holding midfielders and Willock as an attacking midfielder. I think that gives us a lot of options then. Jason says, well, so I see Pogba, Cavani and Van der Beek are all injured and won't feature on Sunday. Do we take this as a positive? I guess with Cavani we do. Van der Beek doesn't really play. He's normally on the subs bench. Pogba for me is... I don't get where all this fuss is about Paul Pogba, Holly. I just don't. He just seems to run around the pitch a lot, and he doesn't really do anything. You know, when I've watched Man United, and yet Man United fans rave about him, I just don't see it.
That's what I've always said. I think he's the most overrated player going. Like, I don't even see any talent in him. I don't know what the hype's about. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see what happens on Sunday. I mean, without them players, I still think Man United are a strong side. You know, Greenwood, Rashford. You know, they've got players. Martial. You know, Martial hasn't played very well lately, but we said that about Timo Werner, and look what happened on Monday. He had a blinder. So we'll see. Stephen says I could do a 2-hour show. My challenge is dedicated to ranting about Bruce. I think anybody could, to be honest. Taylor says, Bruce always says that we are better in the second half. It's not good enough. We should be like that from kickoff. Yeah, he's made a good point there, Holly, because, you know, he always seems to come out with that saying, I've seen some positives in the second half. He never says I've seen some positives in the first half, because most of the time we're dreadful. Southampton, we were very good in the first half. But that, to me, is the only game lately where we can actually say, wow, that first half was really good. It always seems to be that we haven't to come from behind, or it's level at half time, and then we just sink away during the second half.
Like the second half, he probably says that because it's true. Most of the time in the second half, we'll play a lot better than the first half. It's kind of weird. Like, I don't know if that's because at half time, like, you know, he has a rant at them and he's like, get back in the game, but he needs to start doing that from the first half, because like by then, like against Chelsea, we could already be 2-0 down, and then it's too hard to get back into the game. We need to have that mindset from the beginning. Yeah,
I don't know why the team can't go out full of beans to start the match, you know, fully motivated. And that's where I think he lets himself down as a manager. One of the things anyway, he just doesn't seem to be able to motivate them before the match starts. They go out looking like they've been already playing for 90 minutes. You know, they're just so slow onto everything. We're not quick. We're not fast in the build-up. We just let teams come onto us so easily. And I don't know what the guy does in the dressing room, me. John says, I've supported this club since the 60s. I've seen and witnessed some absolute rubbish. I think I need help in some way. Yeah, it's because it's in your blood, John. You know, once you get into Newcastle United, it's in your blood and you can't get it out no matter how bad it is. All we have to hope for is that there's light at the end of a very, very long, dark tunnel. But only time will tell on that, I guess. Alan Thompson says, sorry, Stephen, man, but there's been worse teams. Any team that has Bobby Shinton or George Riley or Billy Whitehurst has to be worse. But manager, you may have a point. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I've seen some absolute dross play for Newcastle United. Some players that just you wouldn't imagine would even be paid for playing football. They were that bad. But, you know, it's people's opinions again. I mean, for me, this is one of the worst teams, you know, simply because of not talent-wise, but effort-wise. You know, going out there and just doing nothing. Not showing any pride for the shirt. Tom says he loves collecting football shirts. Nice one, my man. See, there is more than one of us out there. Steve says, well, you know, I'm looking forward to going back home to Old Trafford on Sunday. I'm sure you are, Steve. Geordie says football programs. I used to do the programs, but I ended up with boxes of them, and you know, I didn't really have anything to do with them, so I sold them all on eBay. But I know there's still people out there who collect tickets and football programs, and you know, especially during COVID, people are sort of getting them ordered in the post and things like that, and just so they've got a collection of them. Thomas says, love collection match programs. There you go. David, I don't like Joe Linton. Well, you do, because you've got a Joe Linton 9 shirt, David, and everybody's seen it on YouTube. So, you know, we know. And I'm not subscribing to all this rubbish about you getting it as a gift or whatever. You got that shirt, and now you have to pay the consequences of knowing that everybody knows you have one. Paul Smith says, only we had one LUFC shirt with a name on it, Smith, and we know where that Judas went. Never again, although I am a Smith. Lol. Yeah, Leeds fan. I know Alan Smith did the absolute dirty on you guys by going to Man United. Played for us for a while as well, but I think the Leeds to Man United one is something that not a lot of Leeds will ever forgive him for. Kieran says, I have a massive collection of football shirts and programs. Good stuff. Paul Jackson says, Geordie, neither. Love collecting cabbages as well. Well, good on you, Thomas. Keep you healthy anyway. Right, if I go for a score prediction from you on Sunday, Holly, if you know, I know you said you can't see us getting anything from the game, but I think it's important that we go into it, you know, and we don't get absolutely hammered, because that'll do our confidence absolutely no good at all, especially going into the games that we've got coming up. So, you know, I think it's very important that we try and compete in the game anyway as best we can. If we do come away with a defeat, then all I want to see at the end of the game is the players coming off knowing that they've put a shift in, and you know they've given it their all despite the defeat. I'll hold my hands up and say, right, lads, you did your best, and your best wasn't good enough. What do you think?
No one's going to like my prediction, and I don't like my prediction, but it's what I honestly think. I think at best it'll be 3-0 to Man United.
Right, 3-0. I think a lot of people will be putting bets on 3-0, Holly. I think that will probably be, on average around the Newcastle fan base. I think that is a score that a lot of people will predict. For me, it all depends how we start the game. We started so badly, like I say, apart from the Southampton game. But I think if we start the Man United game on a positive foot, we may be able to keep the score down and we may be able to compete. We know Man United have been a bit iffy at home this season. Sheffield United went there and beat them. So, in theory, why can't we? But, we're not that kind of team, I don't think. But we seem to go and make teams look like Barcelona most of the time. And, Man United have struggled at home of late. Along come Newcastle United. Personally, I think it could be 2 or 3-0 as well. I really hope not, though. I really hope we do compete in the game and we give them something. When Man United come off the pitch and know they've been in a game, that's what I want more than anything. Paul says you can have Kiko Casillas on a free. I'll drive him. No, thank you. He's your reserve keeper, I believe, and I don't think he's very good. Jason says, here's a question for you both. Do you wear the Newcastle shirt religiously, nearly all the time like some do, or are you like me and only wear the shirt on match days? Holly?
I usually only wear it on a match day, but sometimes I wear it on other days. It just depends, really. But I wouldn't say I wear it like every day because that would be a bit much. But each day.
I've noticed you've got a shirt framed in the background there.
Yeah.
Was that a worn a worn shirt, or is it just a replica?
It's a replica, but it's signed by the whole squad that season.
Right. I bet you've got some good signatures on there.
There's a few that's okay, some not so good, but
good stuff. Alan says, sorry guys, what's your thought on Shelvey and Hayden? For me, they're far too slow, as I know they're still coming off the pitch at Stamford Bridge. There's a game on Sunday. I think you've been a bit harsh on Hayden, to be honest, Alan. I think, Hayden didn't have one of his best games on Monday night, but for me, he's been one of those standout players for a long time now, Isaac Hayden. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of pace, but what he does have is aggression. He likes to get stuck in, and that's the kind of player we need in the middle of the park. Shelvey, we spoke about before. We both don't. Well, you thought he had a decent game at Chelsea, which is fair enough. I think he's underperformed this season again. I think a lot of the games pass him by. That's not to say that he can't perform on Sunday if he does get included in the team. I just think under Rafa, Rafa sussed him out, and he was on his way out had Rafa stayed, I believe. And Steve Bruce came in and put him back in the setup again. But for me, if Rafa had worked him out, that kind of tells me what kind of player he is. Do you think he has a future next season at Newcastle, Holly?
If Bruce is here, yes.
But if for some magical reason that Steve Bruce gets sacked, and we brought somebody like, let's say, for instance, Nigel Pearson, who is known to be a very, very disciplined manager. He's driven by discipline. I don't think Shelvey would kind of like that kind of guy coming in.
I think he might get like a season to see how he goes, but then after that, I think he'd probably be out. And certainly, if we got new ownership, I think he'd be one of the first to go. Right.
Okay. I know you've got to go now, Holly, because I believe you've got an appointment with the dog. So thank you very much for coming on. And thanks for being part of the Toon Review family and helping us build. Hopefully back on next Thursday.
Yeah, just give us a message nearer the time and I'll see if I'm free. I should be.
Right, brilliant. I think we're getting Sam on as well next Thursday as well, so that should be good. But thanks for coming on, Holly. Take care and stay safe, and we'll see you next week.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. So that was Holly Blades there. Knows her stuff. Young lass, but a big supporter of Newcastle United. And, that's what I'm all for, giving people an opportunity to come on here and chat about Newcastle as well. And obviously, Holly's one of the Toon Review family now. So I'm going to stay on for a bit longer tonight just because we've got a lot more comments to go through. So I'll read them out as quick as I can. Jake says, did you hear about Daniel Sturridge being offered to us? Yes, and I don't agree with it. I think, as far as I'm aware, Daniel Sturridge has a ban or he's still not 100% fit. And the fact that there's a reason why he's still a free agent. I don't think there's many clubs want to take a risk on him at the moment. Sean says 3 players to sell: Joe Linton, and yep, Joe Linton. undoubtedly. I don't think you'll hear anybody disagreeing with you on that one. I think he needs to find a new club and maybe find a new start and kickstart his career, because he's not a Premiership player. In all honesty, he's not a Premiership player, and for me, he's probably more better off in a slower league like the French league, or the lower teams in Germany maybe. But he's just not a Premier League player for me. Tom says, would you put Lejeune in the first team squad next season instead of sending him out on loan? Yeah, I've already said, Tom, I really like Lejeune, and I think he should be given an opportunity. Yes, he had a bad injury, but I think going out on loan is going to help him get first team football. I didn't necessarily agree with him going out on loan. I think we should have kept him. However, he's getting a lot of first team football now and building up match fitness, etc., and he's staying fit, which is the main thing. So I'd like to see him back next season and in the team. John, good evening, mate. I hope you're well. I did watch your earlier show with Al Walid. If you haven't seen that, go and catch that with his overseas show with Al Walid tonight. Was brilliant. Some really good conversation. Evening, Paul and Charlie. Great show. Big up, my guys. Who would you play up front on Sunday? Carol or Gayle? Not Joe, though. Can't wait to do my press conference reaction with Holly. Keep up the good work. Yeah, go and subscribe to John. He does a press conference on a Friday night, a reaction to it. And Holly's actually appearing on that show tomorrow night as well. So it should be very interesting to listen to and watch and get their feedback on all things Steve Bruce from the press conference. For me, John, I wouldn't play any of them. I'd go with Saint-Maximin on the left, I'd go with Fraser on the right, and I'd go with Miggy through the middle. I don't think we're going to get a lot of opportunities to score on Sunday at all. And I think we'll struggle to get the ball forward. So I believe the pace is the only thing that's going to get us there. So maybe with them three, and Willock helping out, pushing up a little bit, maybe we stand an opportunity of creating a few problems for them. Ken says, when I go on holiday to Turkey 2 or 3 times a year, I'm ordered to bring Turkish football shirts back for my grandson. So he's got a few now. Besiktas is his favourite, and some brilliant designs, so nothing wrong with collecting football shirts. Thanks, Ken. I think a lot of people do, football fans in general, it's the away shirts for me, because I think the away shirts are more dynamic. They're a bit more sort of radical, if you like, and I really like them. The football shirts are comfortable to wear, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah. Tom says, watch Bruce play Hendrick on Sunday and drop Shelby. I think he'd be an absolute fool to bring Jeff Hendrick back, especially after we let us down against Southampton. It would really infuriate me if he brought somebody like Hendrick back into the side. I genuinely think if he's going to drop Shelby, then give Matty a chance. Like I said before, I'd love to see a 4-2-3-1 formation, maybe 4 at the back with Hayden and Matty as the holding midfielders, Willock pushing on a little bit, maybe a 3 of Saint-Maximin, Fraser and Almiron. And obviously then that frees up some room for a striker. So, we'll see. I don't know what he'll go with, to be honest. You can never second guess Steve Bruce. Jason says, Yoshiniri Muto, keep or sell. I would give him a good run of games to actually see what he can do. Not just playing for one game, then missing for months before sub-show, then missing again. Yeah, I mean, I said that when he played for us. I liked what I saw in Muto, and before he came to the club, I watched him a bit, and he's a good player. He's a good striker. And I think we could have done with him at the minute, given the situation that we find ourselves in. However, again, we've made an error with that one as far as I'm concerned, but I don't see him coming back and getting in the team, Jason. I don't. I think his time is unfortunately up at Newcastle, which is a shame, because there is a player in there. Muto's definitely a player. Jack Layton says, Joe Layton is the boyo. William Hughes says, hi, Will from Belfast. Love the show. Keep up the great work. Hope we get a response on Sunday. So do I. I mean, it's vital that we go out there and do something. Even if we do get beat, I think it's vital that the players go out there and give a performance, because we just haven't seen enough of that. It's the performance that we need to see more than anything, the effort, the desire to get something. And, like I said before, if we come off the pitch and we've lost, but those players have put a shift in and given it their all, then I'll applaud the lads off the pitch. I've always said that. And I know a lot of Newcastle fans feel the same about that. If we perform, you never know, do you? I mean, if we do go out with that kind of mentality, you never know, we might sneak something. Nobody thought Sheffield United, nobody gave them a prayer at Old Trafford, and they came away with a win. But the problem is, they sweated blood and tears. I remember watching Phil Jagielka, who was, nearly retired, And he just was diving in front of everything. And that's just what we need to do, show that kind of desire. Geordie says 4-0 Man United. I hope you're wrong, mate. Exquisite says, must have about 2 programs in the cupboard. Everybody will have somewhere. Everybody's got programs lying about. Paul says, do you think we can get a point at the Theatre of Dreams? Wet Dreams? I think you might if you start well. Yeah, I think the start for me is going to be the important thing, and I think everybody agrees on that. We've been very slow starters for most of the matches we played this season. We need to be better. We need to be quicker. We need to be more agile, and we need to start biting into tackles a bit more and let the opposition know that we're here to play a game, not just put pussyfoot around them and let them dribble the ball around us all the time, because that gets my back up straight away when we play like that. Paul says we're going to beat Man United 3-2. I really hope you're right, mate. Alan says, guys, would you take 17th now? I would. I felt physically sick when Fulham scored first against Burnley. Still 14 games to go, and I'm ready to take the Valium now. You're not the only one, mate. When Fulham scored last night, I was on the edge of my seat thinking, right, this is it. This is where it all turns. This is where our season goes to pot. This is where the pressure is going to come onto us when we play on Sunday. I had visions of Fulham being 1 point behind us. But it was only a draw, and we just have to keep going. Jason says, sadly, we'll be playing the game with 9 men as Hendrick is back, and no doubt will start. Joe Linton as well, so I'm going for 4-0 loss. If he plays Hendrick and Joe Linton, then the man needs to be sacked immediately after the game, as far as I'm concerned. He can't do that, because we will be playing with 9 men. Jake says, would you have Brandon Williams? I would now. Obviously, he was rumoured to come to us in the January transfer window. Didn't happen, but given what's happened lately, with Yedlin leaving and now Manquillo in the sidelines, I'll have Brandon Williams in a second. Geordie says, what's your favourite football shirt in your collection? The Newcastle ones, mate, if I'm honest. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, it's the Newcastle tops that I have. And they always will be Newcastle. They are the favourite tops I have. I just like mainly the away tops of certain teams. About the Wimbledon shirt I've got because of my granddad, and that's a special shirt to me. And Wimbledon will always have a soft spot in my heart because of my granddad supporting them. So that's an important shirt for us. But I have a few. I've got some non-league ones which are really nice. Durham City, for instance, their home strip is really nice. I've got Spennymoor United's as well. Although I can't squeeze into that at the minute. I got a decent size on the internet, and it came, and it's like if I put that on, it looks like I'm doing the hula in a crop top. So I'm not going to be wearing that for a while until I get some weight off. David says 2-1 Newcastle, Joe Linton to score both. David, if that happens, right, I will eat on the Four Horsemen show on Monday night. I will eat a training shoe covered in mud, right? If that actually happens, because it won't. Paul says, your best shirt was the Blue Star black and white shirt, in my opinion. Was that in Waddle Beardsley Keegan days? Yes, it was. And I said when I was on Newcastle Fans TV last night and they asked us what my favourite Newcastle shirt was, I said it was the one with the Blue Star. Really, really, that just, for me, the Blue Star on that black and white shirt, it was Newcastle United. Just that, as soon as you saw that shirt, it was like Newcastle straight down the line. Really, really brilliant shirt. Alan says, I'm predicting 3-0 as well. Alma on 2 and Fraser. 3-0 to Newcastle. Alan, have you been drinking earlier this evening by any chance, my man? Jacqueline says, surely Amiobi or Joe Linton. Surely Amiobi any day of the week. And I think 99.9% of Newcastle fans would probably agree with that. I think Shola had his moments, definitely, but he scored some quite important goals for us. Let's not forget that. And he did score... he scored in the Nou Camp. He scored in some big games. So let's not forget that. And, what he did against Sunderland, the amount of goals he got against them, that's why he goes down in folklore, really, for the goals he scored in the derby. But let himself down recently with his comments about, Mike Ashley and praising him and things like that. But playing side, without a doubt, Shola. Tom says, what's your thought on our rivals getting a takeover and reaching the Pizza Cup? Hopefully it's just for next season. I'm not bothered about them getting to a cup final. I mean, it's a cup final at the end of the day. I think if we were in that position as Newcastle fans, I think we'd be perfectly happy to go to a cup final, given even if it was the Papa John's. Our recent record, we just want some kind of success. And Sunderland are down where they are, but they can only do what they can at the end of the day. They're in that competition and they've got to the final. So, you have to say hats off to them to get to the final. So I think if the shoe was on the other foot, we'd be just as happy to go to Wembley to try and win a trophy, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is winning a trophy. I'm not particularly bothered about it. I don't really care about Sunderland at all. So, good luck to them. If they win the pizza trophy, then they win it, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Joe Linton, the Bristol number 9, will start on Sunday instead of Gayle. I definitely think Gayle might be left out. That's my worry, that he's going to bring Joe Linton in for Dwight Gayle instead of possibly leaving them both out. But time will tell. And again, we can never guess Steve Bruce, can we? So Stephen says 1-1 on Sunday. Be positive. Yeah, I mean, it's that's what we've got to do. Paul says, are you giving the pizzas out tonight, Paul? No, definitely not. Stephen says, plug for my channel. Yes, go and follow Stephen at Geordie Talk NUFC on YouTube. Good channel there. Let's help get his subscribers up a bit. Taylor says, John Linton, he's never going to forgive that. By the way, we did have a poll on Twitter to say that I put it up yesterday for 24 hours to have a vote on whether John should change his name, his Twitter handle name, to John Linton for 24 hours. So join the show on Monday night and I'll have the results of that. I don't think John's going to like it very much. John says it's an absolute tragedy that we even talked about getting beat 3-0 or whatever. It's not so long ago that we did not fear anyone. It just shows how bad things are. Yeah, and that's what upsets me as well, John, is the fact that, I hate the fact that we're going into every game now and just wondering where the next point's coming from. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen to a club like this at all. It really shouldn't. And, that's down to all sorts of things. It's down to the owners. It's down to the manager. But we're just crippled at the minute. We're absolutely crippled. Craig says, what do you think of Pedro Neto music, mate? Well, Pedro Neto is going to run rings around us, when Wolves come up here. He'll be rubbing his hands thinking of playing against Emil Kraft. That's a certainty. Paul says, why are you struggling with some of the players you have? Are they not playing for that cabbage, or is he just clueless? Have players given up on him? I don't get it. Played well versus us in the second half. We did. And we did talk about those games, where those 3 games where we looked a bit better, and we thought maybe, Graham Jones is having a bit of an influence here and starting to turn a few things around. But to be honest, it hasn't really happened. It certainly went back to Bruce Ball at Chelsea. The players are good enough. I've always said the players are good enough. Some of them need to have a hard look at themselves, because that's just the way they are. The likes of Shelvey, etc. That's just the type of players they are. They do need a rocket up their arse, but the majority of them are decent players, and I genuinely believe under a good manager we'd perform a lot better. Taylor says, I remember everyone was really excited to see Jeff Hendrick when he signed. This aged well. Yeah, I wasn't one of those people. I think, this AC Milan rumour was a load of shite as far as I'm concerned. It was just to get him signed. His agent going on that there's other clubs interested. It was all bullshit. I guess we were proved right on that by how bad he actually is. Craig says, Pedro Neto class. Yes, he is, undoubtedly. Joe Linton 7, Man United 0. I really can't say that. Tom's team for Sunday would be Dubravka, Kraft, Lascelles, Clark, Lewis, Hayden, Shelvey, Hendrick. Well, Shelvey or Hendrick, Willock, Almiron, Saint-Maximin, Gayle. It's not a bad team, Tom. Obviously, looking at that, we've gone 4 at the back. Yeah. To be honest, he could go with anybody, couldn't he? I mean, I've tried to second guess Steve Bruce's lineups for a long time now, and I couldn't guess Rafa's, and I certainly can't guess Steve Bruce's. Geordie says Joe Linton is a £40 million Sammy Amiobi. I think Sammy's better than him. When we used to watch Sammy, the runs he used to go on were just incredible. Some of them. I've never seen Joe Linton do that once yet. David says I love Shola. Taylor says Dubravka, Murphy, Hayden, Fernandez, Clark, Lewis, Willock, Matty, Maxi, Fraser, Almiron. Again, I think I would put Murphy in for Kraft. I said that after the game the other night. I would definitely do that. So it's not a bad shout. Thomas says, Paul, I just saw Joe Linton and Bruce on Love Island. Oh, goodness me. Steve Bruce on Love Island with his top off all the time. No, thank you very much. Paul Smith says, who would you have to replace Bruce if he gets sacked? Pearson, Howe, Lampard? You will stay up, lads. Relax. Fulham have too much to do. Fulham did have too much to do, but I think we're giving Fulham, every time we play, we seem to be giving Fulham more inspiration to get a bloody result. as for who I'd like to see come in, without a doubt, Nigel Pearson, because I think between now and a possible takeover, I think he's the perfect man to come in, because he has that discipline about him. He knows how to kick ass. He knows how to get the best out of players, and he's a winner. And that's the kind of manager we need. You know, he did so much for Leicester City. You know, he got them out the crap, and I still think that he should take a lot of credit for Leicester winning the league, because he gave those players a lot of inspiration, and they went on the next season and did what they did. Tom says, getting to a cup final with no fans. I mean, yeah, that's the awful thing about it, isn't it, for someone really, that they can't. But we all know what happened last time they went to Wembley, when they started burning Newcastle tops and stuff like that. Pathetic, really. You know, jumping in pools and splitting their heads open. You know, they're not even worth it. Jason says, Murphy has to start and place a Kraft. He has to. I can't take any more of Emil Daft. You're right, Jason. Like I said before, I'd love to see Murphy come in. I know Murphy's not a right back, but Jesus, he can't do any worse than bloody Emil Kraft. That's a certainty. I think going forward as well, he'd be a lot better. Like I said, I don't think we're going to get forward a lot in this game. I think there'll be a lot of defending to do. I'll be amazed if we don't, but you just never know. You never know. We might get a shock. Jordy says, Bet Fernandez gets a penalty. Well, that wouldn't surprise us, would it? I mean, he seems to, Man United seem to get penalties every other week. And certainly when we go down there, putting the tackles in that we do will probably upset somebody along the way. Tom said I would give Carroll a start on Sunday. Big, tall, and could score goals. Yeah, providing we get the crosses in. You know, he's got to play the right players, though, Tom. If we don't play the right players to suit Andy Carroll's game, it's pointless playing him. You know what I mean? It's just a waste of time. Alan says, is the rumour true that Joe Linton is loaned out to Hartlepool next year with a view to buy him so we can cash in? Do you know what? That's probably about his level, if I'm honest. Send him off to Hartlepool on loan for a season and see what he does in the conference. I think that's his level. I really do. I don't think there's any kind of player in Joe Linton at all, and I'm sorry to say that. David says, I would have Blobfish, then Steve Bruce. Yep, Blobfish would definitely be... I'd take him over Steve Bruce any day, to be honest. Jordy says, Fulham have been decent performance-wise, but couldn't get a result that will change going into the final months. This is the thing. I mean, what I meant, Jordy, is that if we keep losing like games that we are, you know, we're not playing very well and we show no fight or desire, it's going to give Fulham more confidence. You know, Scott Parker will be in that dressing room, game in, game out, saying, look at how Newcastle played. They don't want it as much as we do. Go out there and show me that you want it more than Newcastle United. And that's all it needs. He doesn't need to say anything else. You know, the players will play for Scott Parker and we'll be ending up in the shit. Jason says, Fulham of Sheffield United and Palace next. That's the 6 points they need to go level on points with us. I'm shitting myself. Exactly. Fulham have got to do something in these games, you know, without a shadow of a doubt. They'll be looking at these games thinking, right, this is our opportunity. We have to win these games. So if they don't, then that's going to be their confidence rock bottom, because they'll be looking at these games as an opportunity to win, an opportunity to move forward. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how they do. Paul says, go attack Man U, don't sit back, go for them, dodgy at the back and a crap keeper, shot on confidence, score first and watch them panic. I said this the other day that I believe we can get it Lindelof and Maguire if that's who he goes with. I think Maguire is, honestly, I've seen a tortoise turn quicker than him. He certainly can't run. When he runs, he looks like a duck run for a bit of bread. It's just pathetic. Lindelof just doesn't seem to be able to pass a ball. So we can get at them. I just hope Steve Bruce realises that and says, right, we can get at them, lads. Let's go and do it. But again, it's what the manager tells them to go and do that counts. Snoop Hoggy White says, if you had crowds inside there this season, would Bruce still be there? No. We spoke about this on Monday night. I think if Steve Bruce was in the ground and he had the fans against him, I don't think he'd be there now, because it would be an absolutely toxic atmosphere that he just could not survive. He couldn't survive in that kind of atmosphere. Jane Atlantic, good evening, mate. I think we will steal just barely. Do you think there is any hope to get rid of Bruce over the summer? We spoke about this earlier when Holly was on, and I think, you know, the fact that he could look at it two ways. He could look at it as if, you know, we're going to, you know, he keeps us up. He's the saviour. Let's keep him on. Or if we go down, well, he's managed in the Championship plenty of times. He could do a job for us there, and we'll keep him on that way. I think the only hope we've got is getting him out is by a takeover. I really do. Jason says, when thinking back, the only one who knew how to pick out Carroll to get the goals was Joey Barton. Exactly. But we don't have players like Joey Barton now. What I'd do to have him back in the midfield. Steve Bruce says, what are you doing in the dressing room? I don't even get there on a match day. Yeah, you don't. Tom says, is Fernandez fit for Sunday? That will be a boost for us. Also would like to see Richie playing on Sunday. Fernandez is fit as far as I do know. He's back. He's been back in training since last week, so hopefully we'll get him back in the side. Matt Ritchie, on the other hand, I don't know what's happening with Matt Ritchie. Ever since the transfer window, and there was the comment by Steve Bruce saying, if he doesn't go, he needs to get his head down and work his arse off. That's a disappointment for me because that'll have affected Matt Ritchie, and I think there's, they don't see eye to eye at the minute. Kobe says West Brom have a good run of games too, including us, so they possibly come near us. It'll be a boring game against us because, you've got Allardyce against Bruce. You don't get two more negative managers in the country than them two. That's why the other night we labelled it the hashtag Dino Derby, Jurassic Park Derby down at the Hawthorns. I think West Brom are gone now. I can't see them getting out of it. I really can't. I know you always get a team at the bottom that goes on a big run towards the end of the season, and then a team that was in mid-table comfortably suddenly slide down. That could be Crystal Palace. They're not playing very well at the moment, but then again, it could be us. So it's going to be very tight, though, Kobe. It is going to be very tight at the bottom. Alan says, totally agree, Paul. Unless we change our performance results, then Fulham will catch us. Yes, and we've got to be aware of that. But again, it's how we respond to that terrible performance against Chelsea, and it's how Fulham are going to respond on Saturday when they take on Sheffield United. It's a massive, massive game for them. I will only got Atlanta, whatever that means. Alan says, breaking news, Paul. Bruce just been offered a new 5-year contract if we stay in the league. Please don't say that. Paul says, great chat tonight, Paul. All the best. Thanks very much, mate. Thank you very much to everybody who's tuned in again. Been a brilliant show. We've got 5 minutes left or so. So get your comments in before we do finish. Do hit the like button if you've enjoyed the show. If you're watching the rerun, do hit the like button on there as well. And please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Paul says, us, Leeds United, still have Fulham away, so that's 3 points for them. We can't buy a win in London, sadly. Brighton aren't safe yet. Nobody's safe yet, to be honest, around the bottom teams. I mean, maybe it's not the 7 or 8 that Steve Bruce is talking about, but it is going to be a real massive end of the season. It's going to be very exciting. Exciting in the wrong way for Newcastle fans, obviously, but I don't want us involved coming down to the last game of the season. I couldn't take that. Steve Bruce says, I've just signed a 10-year deal. Well, no, you haven't, because if you have, there'll be absolute mutiny. Fred, good evening. He says, do you think a Carroll Gayle partnership up front could work while Wilson is out? Yes. I think, if we look at, past partnerships up front, there's always been a tall guy and a smaller guy, and I think that would probably suit us really well. But again, Fred, it's all about how we get the ball into them. We don't cross the ball enough for me. And when we do, we hit the first man. We can't clear the first man, even on corners. We've got to be better. That corner that Shelby put in, or Fraser put in for Wilson's goal at Everton, that's what we need to do. Aim for the guys that can head the ball. But we lack that kind of skill. For some reason, I don't know what they do in training on set pieces, but it doesn't work. But then again, we've played really badly on set pieces for years now, haven't we? Thomas says, Steve Bruce, I pray to God, no. Taylor says, I think we should sign Mbappe, Foden and Bruno. If we sign them, we might have a chance of staying up. Yeah, and pigs might fly as well, Taylor. Ken says, what did Bruce say in crap to spend 6.5 million on him? Because I've tried to come up with a reason since the day he signed. Then also to sign Hendrick, a player who couldn't get a game at Burnley, and they were struggling to get 25 players in their squad at the time. Just shows how far we've tumbled. Well, it does. I mean, I said a few weeks ago, Ken, to be honest, that it's like we're shopping in the bargain basement now. We're shopping at like Poundland and stuff instead of Harrods, and that's just how far we've fallen. It's just a sign of the times. Luke, good evening, mate. Cracking stream, mate. All the best. Thank you very much, Luke. I do appreciate that. Tom says, keep the faith. I think Newcastle will survive relegation. The 3 teams below us have hard games. They do, but so do we as well, Tom. Then, we've got to concentrate on ourselves at the end of the day. It's in our hands. As long as it's still in our hands, we have a chance, and that's what we always need to believe. Keep the points distance, keep on top, and keep the faith, basically. But as long as we've got it in our own hands, then we stand a chance. Life is a roller coaster, says Steve Bruce. Whatever. Paul says, great show, Paul. Catch you later. Cheers, mate. Jason, the youth will want to perform more than most of the first team, so start most of the youth. I certainly would. I mean, that's the way I think. If you listen to Sharky on Toon Army TV, he goes and watches the under-23s a lot more than I do. Obviously, COVID provided code, this COVID shite goes away, he'd be doing it again. But he does go and watch them a lot, and there's a lot of good players coming through. But Steve Bruce doesn't play the kids. That's the problem. He's got no faith in them. He hasn't got the balls to play them. John says, well done again, Paul. Good show as always. Thanks very much. Tom, great show. Thank you. Geordie says, if a takeover went through, which player would you love to see us get? I don't know, to be honest, Geordie. I'd have to think about it. I think if a takeover happened, it would be a slow build. It wouldn't just happen overnight, and I'd rather see it that way. They'd be concentrating on developing the stadium even further, developing the area, putting money into the players as well. But I think it would be a slow build-up. But at least as fans, we would see progress, and that's the main thing for me. Just finish off these comments. Great stream, Paul. Thank you. Geordie says, if the takeover went through, which player would you love to sign? That's come up again. Palace, are safe, I think. I think they are, but you never know in the Premier League, do you? It could be interesting. Kobe says, I would love JWP at Newcastle. Wouldn't come, but his free kicks are wow. James Ward-Prowse would be a brilliant midfielder for Newcastle, and the fans would absolutely love him. Every time we got a free kick, within 35 yards of the goal, but he's a great player. He's not just a free kick taker. He's an all-round brilliant footballer. Geordie says, excellent stream tonight. You're back Monday with the Four Horsemen. Yes, it'll be back to its normal time, Monday night at 8:30. But I'll put all the details on Twitter again. It is already up on YouTube if you want to just set a reminder for it. Carl says, crowd reaction at home games influence a lot of background decisions at Newcastle, and if the crowd was there now, Bruce would have gone at Christmas. Carl, spot on, mate, spot on. Taylor says, great stream again, Paul. I'll be back on for the match reaction. Yes, I will be doing another live stream straight after the game, around about 9 o'clock on Sunday night, so do tune into that one. That's also booked in on YouTube as well if you want to set a reminder for that. Jay says he's dreading the game on Sunday. I think we dread every game Newcastle play at the minute. Great as always, mate. Stay safe and catch you next time. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for taking part. And final one, in my opinion, we need 3 more wins. Fulham won't catch you. You just need to start picking up points now or pressure grows. Fulham have Liverpool, City and us in March. Yeah, good point. James Ward-Prowse is modern day Beckham with his free kicks. He certainly is. Right, guys, that's it for tonight. Once again, thank you very much for everybody tuning in. Thank you very much as well for getting me over the 1,000 subscribers. I have had a bit of a battle with Google today because I've been trying to set an AdSense account and everything up like that to try and make a bit of money for the channel. And for, obviously, as most of you know, I want to sort of dedicate most of the money to the Parkinson's Foundation. But they say I've already got an AdSense account from when I first set this YouTube account up way back when. I know I don't, so I'm just having a bit of an argument with them, trying to get some information through with how to do it, how to get my... how to get an AdSense account backlinked to this, basically. They've tried to say that, you may have to delete your channel and restart again. That would kill me, to be honest, if I had to do that again when everything's going so well at the minute. But it'd be just my bloody luck. But hopefully I'll get that sorted. I will be bringing out my match preview for the Man United game. That'll be out tomorrow. And I'll be back on Sunday with another live stream, the match reaction straight after the game. So, like I say, around 9 o'clock on Sunday night. So don't miss that one. And of course, the Four Horsemen of the Toon will be back at 8:30 on Monday night. But in the meantime, guys, stay very safe out there. How are the lads? Let's try and get 3 points. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you after the game on Sunday. Take care, everybody. Good night. Be strong.